Good afternoon, everyone. This is the most disconcerting thing for a speaker, is when you get up and everybody's leaving. It's like you've seen all the pretty faces in AR and VR. Can you guys hear me? And now you're going. And I'm the last person between you and the tea break, or the beer break if you're Australian like me. So I get that. There's another acknowledgement I need to make. I'm new at AWE. This is my first time here. Who else is new at AWE? Yep, excellent. I've been seeing all the speakers and they all start something like this. I'm a PhD in AR and VR. I've been working for 23 years in the industry and I'm 14 years old. And we've got 17,000 clients, and I'm going to show you just two of the use cases today, and they're the same use cases from presentation to presentation. There we go. Let's go with this. Let's go with this one. Hey, that's much better. And so no use cases at all in my presentation. No use cases. I haven't been in AR VR for 23 years. I do not have a PhD. In fact, I've spent the vast bulk of my career, yes, I do have a white beard, in corporate life. My most previous role was Chief Technologist for Innovation at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise across Asia-Pacific, Japan. So I have been working with big clients around emerging technologies, and AR and VR was the one that I chose to follow when I left corporate world. So lastly, what I'd like to say is I'd like to give you some tips and tricks. We've seen a lot of what. Here's what, right? We've even had Karim posed a really good question. Is AR too expensive for the enterprise because nobody's buying it? If it's so great, why is nobody buying it? I'd like to answer that question with a third option. He gave two options. But I agree with his second option as well. But what I do want to do in the next 15 or so minutes is leave you with a bit of a how. Right? Here's how I approach enterprises. So the business reality of virtual reality trips off the tongue. The business reality of augmented, mixed, blended, holographic, and virtual reality doesn't trip off the tongue. So when I say virtual reality, I'm basically talking about all of those. And I just want to make sure, look, push the big green button. So 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whoa, how do we go back? 5 years ago, we didn't expect to see this in our world. And yet, here it is. As I think it's Jim Shell said in his presentation, you know, the 10-year-old says, what was it like to live in the world of ignorance, right? And we just have information at our fingertips. I took a trip, I rented a motorbike on Saturday, and I rode up through Northern California, and I had augmented reality in the headset of my motorbike helmet, audio augmented reality of Google telling me exactly where I needed to go, right? And it's ubiquitous, but this isn't really scalable. No businesses want to see this. In fact, businesses, when they see this, go, is that like a game? Is that like Pokemon Go? I don't want all my workers to be looking at their phones, not at their work. I guess unless the phones are their work. This slide is either dystopia, if you're like everybody else in the world, or utopia if you're a marketing expert, or Japanese. Sorry, I don't mean to be dismissive. But this is kind of one of the future views, right? That we get to see all this augmented reality in our line of sight throughout the day. Nobody really wants to look like this, do they? Like even factory workers. We just heard how factory workers are really happy about using technology for blue-collar workers now rather than just for white-collar workers. But I rather suspect that most factory workers don't want to look like that. They probably don't want to wear a HoloLens. I have a HoloLens. I use it to demonstrate to my clients all the time. I take it off their heads after about 45 seconds because that's about the point at which you start really feeling the weight of the HoloLens. 45 minutes is a stretch. I've played the game Fragments, and it's a 4-hour game, and I played it in like 1-hour stretches over 4 different stretches, right? It's just, the HoloLens it's fantastic technology, it's just not there yet for an enterprise use. And then, of course, we saw this slide yesterday. Tom had this slide as well, Tom Emmerich. And, you know, this is pretty much what most executives think of virtual reality. Like you go and talk to them about how virtual reality can save them money, and they just envision their workplace turning into this. Ready Player One. Okay, so why then do we think there is a business reality for virtual reality? And that's really because business drivers can be summed up in three things. Businesses want to increase growth, and that exhibits as profit, revenue, market share, right? Businesses want to grow. That's their business driver. Another business driver is businesses want to reduce cost. They want to become more efficient, more productive, save money, reduce costs for their clients. And then the third thing is, and we've seen a lot of this recently with BP and Enron and a whole bunch of other companies, is they have to comply, right? If you are going to sell AR into the medical industry, good luck. Because you've got HIPAA and you've got health and safety and you've got all sorts of FDA and federal requirements around compliance, right? And the truth is that, of course, VR and AR can absolutely help you achieve one or preferably more of those things. So here's the first how. When you're speaking to executives about a solution, speak to executives about their business drivers. Have a look at their annual reports. What are they going to do? Are they going to grow? And how are they going to grow? Are they going to grow organically? Are they going to grow strategically? Are they going to grow through acquisitions and mergers? Are they going to shrink in one geography and grow in another geography? Do they want to grow in a different demography, right? Think about their business strategy around growth. Think about their business strategy around saving costs, becoming more productive, because that's the language that they speak. Talk to them about compliance. Compliance to security, to safety regulations, to regulatory compliance around financial industry, etc. Okay, we saw a similar slide to this yesterday, and this basically is looking at the value chain and saying, where can AR and VR help you achieve these goals or goals for these drivers across your value chain? And I don't need to go into that anymore, and I need to save time, so I'm going to go forward. I'm going to let you have your beer earlier, or if you're not Australian, your cup of tea. And if you're American, your coffee. Okay, so why AR and VR? Here's another tip. When we speak to executives, take them to where they're at. Don't talk about this cool technology, but talk to them about where are you at. So I love to use this example. I did a bunch of sailing in Antigua back in the early 90s. And whether you're a sailor or not, if you look at that picture, you will automatically start noticing things like all the yachts face the same direction. What does that tell you? Well, there's probably some kind of tide or wind or current pushing all the, dragging the yachts on their anchors in the same direction. And you get that intuitively because your mind is spatial. And so now you have an insight, even if you're a non-domain expert. So where in the business value chain will an insight for a non-domain expert help them grow, save, or comply? Right? If you talk to executives in that language, they get it. Right? These guys aren't stupid. They're just not very keen on technology like we are. Okay, the second one is, what about your domain experts? Can you accelerate the information from them? We were talking to a large federal organization that collects revenue from every citizen and business in our country. And we were talking about doing big data visualization, and we were saying, you could see 30 years of transactions, and you could overlay it on demography and geography and everything else, and that'll help you with your strategy and your policies. And they went, all we want to see is tax returns in real time overlaid on a map that we can drill into by postcode and then compare it to last year. That's all. Right? Really, really simple, but that will save us 3 weeks of work for the tax commissioner every time he goes to see the minister. Right? So there's 3 weeks of preparation for a monthly meeting that involves hundreds of people and hundreds of strategists, and if you could just see that information in 3D and overlay just those two dimensions, that would save all that money. Right? So think about accelerating insights for non-domain experts, for domain experts, and then of course, what about new insights for domain experts? If you're trying to build a building, you've probably got some engineer and architect, or an architect drawing up blueprints and an engineer building the building on blueprints, and you've got some project manager and construction worker working on a project plan, right? And the construction work, or the project manager, can't see the gates that are going to be blocked during this scale of the build, and the guys working on the blueprints don't understand the timeline of the build, right? So by putting them together in 3D, in VR, you can actually start to see where production overruns might happen, or you can start to see where you need to change your logistics onto the site. So VR can actually give domain experts new insights that they wouldn't have seen already. It can give non-domain experts insights that they wouldn't get, obviously, and it can accelerate insights for domain experts. Okay, so how then do we talk to, so here's where we are today. We saw a similar slide to this in Karim's presentation. So this is what everybody in the business is doing at the moment. They're looking at a 2D screen. They might not be looking so happy. And this is where we want to get to tomorrow. Of course, I should have used the Jarvis picture, but there you go. And to go from here to here, and here's the third answer to Karim's question, I believe that a lot of reasons that people aren't using AR at the moment or buying AR is because of this. They're simply not aware. They're not aware of how our spatial minds and the accessibility. 1 minute, you're joking. You must have cut off 5 minutes of my talk. Okay, so I'm going to whiz through this. So the words in orange are the challenges that you have across that life cycle. And the challenges that you have for us solution providers is those are the opportunities. This is where we can help, right? We can provide capable talent. You can showcase, have a showcase environment, etc. All right, and these are the two domains that you do this in. Obviously the development domain, or the design and development domain, and then the training and education domain. Okay, and moving on very quickly then. So this is what my business is doing. We're providing AR, VR training as a service, innovation as a service, and we're actually starting with AR and VR services to give examples to executives on how they can achieve the adjacent possible. But ultimately, as per Karim and Andreas' presentation, you've got to get this to software factory. You can't do a bespoke solution for every executive problem, for every business or enterprise problem. So a couple of tools then to help with that software factory. Here's one that I use all the time. The first thing that people talk about is what's the financial attractiveness, right? What's the investment? What's the return? And different companies use different markers. So some companies might use internal rate of return. Some companies might use TCO, total cost of ownership. Some might use return on investment. It doesn't really matter. My chart will give them whatever criteria they want to use. Then we look at a y-axis of strategic value. So how does it align to your market priorities, to your business strategy? How does the solution, how technology efficient is it? So does it integrate easily? Has it been done before? How long does it take to deploy, etc.? And then we look at a fourth index, which is business and technical risk. And then we plot all of the ideas, all of the solutions that we've been speaking to them about through that program. And very, very easily, for an executive, in their language, they can look at the 4 or 5 or 6 innovations that we've come up with around AR and VR and go, okay, we probably want to go with, that one. It's really aligned to our strategy. It's fairly risky, but it's within our risk plan, and it's really efficient from a technology perspective. And then maybe that'll be solution number 2, and that'll be solution number 3, etc. Okay. All right. Thanks, Google. This is the last slide. I do want to show this very quickly. I'm sorry I'm out of time. This one basically takes away any of the confusion from a solution definition problem, right? So if you think about all the things that AR and VR can give you, so you need to be able to access it. How many people need to be able to access the solution? How mobile do they need to be? How much do they need to collaborate with other people? How are they going to control the solution? How immersed do they need to be? What agency do they need to have? So how much interactivity? What about alterity? Do you want to give them a different type of experience? And then what are you going to analyze, right? And then there's another index, which is how much does it need to integrate with your current software? And then what that allows you to do is really just go, let's just do a pattern, and we can see that, once we've defined the problem, how we want to solve the problem, it'll tell us that it's a Samsung Gear VR 360 video with a CGI overlay, right? So that can then just, again, this is coming back to the software factory, where you can just very, very quickly even self-diagnose or self-design at least the input to the conversation about the solution for the enterprise. Okay, that is it. I am definitely over time. You guys definitely need a beer. Thank you very much for your attention. Really enjoyed your time. And there is at least one question over there.
So the question, to repeat it, is what industries that Roger's company has been focused on so far?
The industries that I've been focusing on so far are really industrial. So the two big clients in my pipeline at the moment, one is food production, so meat and livestock, and the other one is automated warehousing and logistics. And then I'm also working with a partner on construction industry, so doing training for high-risk construction. Yeah, so the question was, do I think partnering with a range of technology providers is key? The answer is absolutely yes. When I discovered, can you put my presentation back up, please? I'll just go back to a quick slide. Or forward to a quick slide. When I suddenly realized that Jay had cut my time in half and I only had 1 minute left, I had a slide up that showed what I call Project Inception. And basically I'm partnering with a company that provides facilities across 10 cities. Obviously we're going to be buying and partnering with technology companies. And then the capabilities are provided by all the VR and AR designers and developers. So the question that came from the panel was, one of the questions for the panel was, how do you find the best AR and designer? There we go, there it is, thanks very much. How do you find these capabilities? And for us, the answer is there's going to be a portal, there'll be a drop down, and it really comes from the solution definition, right? So if you come out and you go, I want to do a prototype for a VR 360 video induction program, it'll just self-select the best providers in your location to quote on that job. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks again, Roger. And
no worries.
I swear to God that I didn't cut you off. In fact, you were lucky in the sense that you got more time being at the end of it. So do want to honor the break. Roger is absolutely around. I encourage every single one of you with further questions to go and seek him out.
And if anybody wants to buy me a beer, feel free.